This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. I am Rod Brooks, and welcome to Quality Hang. And as always, I'm joined on this broadcasting adventure by my partner in crime, my co-host, and your friend. He is Marcus Osborne. What up, dog? How you doing, Mike?
What's happening, man? Pardon me if I turn my head periodically. I'm just looking to see what's happening with the draft.
The NBA draft is ongoing, and we will get into that and more. But first, we start the show, as we always do, by thanking our presenting sponsor, Hop Monk Taverns. 3 locations to choose from. Count them with me: Sebastopol, Sonoma, and in Novato. And in all 3 locations, you get the same great things. Great food from a diverse menu, great craft beer selection, or full bar if that's how you like to get down. But the best thing about Hop Monk, again, at all 3 venues is that they are live music emporiums. No matter where you go, Sonoma, Sebastopol, or Novato, acts come through there, whether they're touring acts from around the country, but especially local acts have the ability to perform at all 3 Hop Monk Tavern locations. So to see what's coming up live music-wise, maybe it's someone you know, maybe it's someone you don't know, but you're being adventurous, go to their website and see the live music schedule at all 3 venues, Sonoma, Sebastopol, and Novato, at hopmonk.com. Follow them on all the socials, but if you happen to be near one of those 3 fine places, just drop into Hop Monk. You will not be disappointed. As Marcus mentioned, the NBA draft is ongoing. Just finished the season a couple of days ago. Game 7 between OKC and the Pacers took place on Sunday. Here we are now on Wednesday, and we have already moved on, Marcus, to the 2025-2026 season. You had a couple of big trades over the last couple of days. Now you get into the draft. The NBA is just like the NFL. It is a year-round thing. It never stops.
Yeah, isn't it a smart thing, man? To keep your sport
absolutely
in the spotlight year-round. It's really one of the things. I think the WNBA, if they want to keep growing, they will have to figure out a way to do that as well.
Well, side note, here's what the WNBA needs to do. They need to figure out how to broadcast their games, and especially the games with the marquee players, to where not only people can see them, but they don't have conflicts. There were a couple of WNBA games. When the Fever with Caitlin Clark, obviously, came to play the Valkyries, in San Francisco, the newest and hottest team in the WNBA. I believe that game happened on the night of one of the NBA Finals games. You want people to see your product. Hey, how about you don't have it go up against the NBA Finals? How about you have those games spread out and be able to be seen and be able to be shown where people can actually access them? So I'm sorry to cut you off. We're going to get into the NBA and a whole lot of other stuff, but it's amazing to me that the WNBA can be run so badly in 2025. That's wild.
That's facts. I think that they will probably have to do, and it really shouldn't be that way because they're both run by the NBA. Like it's not like there's some weird thing where they couldn't, like, this is a shock. You need to be able to figure that out, coordinate all this stuff.
You would think somebody would be like, I got something to say.
Right.
We're going to have WNBA games on the same night of the NBA Finals. Should we do something about that?
Particularly when you've got a game between obviously one of maybe the most popular franchise in the league right now based on attendance, and the most popular player in the league right now in Caitlin Clark.
It's a no-brainer.
It's no-brainer. You should have this figured out.
And even if you didn't know at the beginning of the season, which I would say that what the Valkyries have done has been a shock, so it's kind of hard to know. But even if you didn't know at the beginning of the season, the Valkyries would be wildly popular in the Bay Area. Once you find that out, move the game.
Figure it out. Figure it out.
Get it off of the day where the NBA Finals are taking place.
Figure it out.
Not the hardest thing to do, but anyway.
I love that stuff.
NBA draft going on. No surprise. Cooper Flagg must enunciate with his name. Cooper Flagg.
Nicholas Kerr.
Oh, we're going to get to that. Oh, brother. Funny you mention Nicholas, a.k.a. Nick Kerr, son of Steve Kerr, newest Warrior assistant coach. Oh, we're going to get to Nick Kerr and a name that is very similar to Nick Kerr. But hold that. Funny you mentioned that. Cooper Flagg, Duke freshman standout, goes to the Dallas Mavericks. No surprise. There are really no surprises in this draft at all. The only bit of surprise or intrigue is that Ace Bailey, Rutgers star freshman player, who refused to work out for any NBA teams.
Mm-hmm.
But he also, Ace Bailey, had a preference, Marcus, on where he wanted to go. He wanted to stay on the East Coast. He said he wanted to go to Washington, or he wanted to go to Brooklyn. Also said he wanted to go to New Orleans, which is not on the East Coast, but maybe they don't teach geography at Rutgers. I don't know. But anyway, Ace Bailey, with the advice of his counsel, his agent, who, by the way, is not an agent, just some dude that he knows. But Ace Bailey did not work out for any teams, most notably the Philadelphia 76ers, who had the third pick in the draft. Did they take Ace Bailey? No. Did the Charlotte Hornets, with the fourth pick in the draft, take Ace Bailey? No, they did not. They took, also from Duke, and also you must enunciate, Con Knuppel. I would love to know if his middle name starts with a K. I'll do that research later. No, the Charlotte Hornets did not draft Ace Bailey. Who drafted Ace Bailey? That maniac Danny Ainge, head of the Utah Jazz. Ace Bailey, who did not want to go to a lot of places, but didn't have pre-draft workouts, was drafted by the squad that basically no one wants to go to, and that, of course, is the Utah Jazz. And even though he didn't go to a desired destination, Marcus, it's the dream of a lifetime. A young man gets drafted into the NBA. Was Ace Bailey emotional? Was he crying? Was he happy? Let's get a pick and see what Ace Bailey was all about when he stood on that stage, shaking the hand of the commissioner of the NBA. The realization of a lifelong dream. That's a dude who just realized, damn, I'm going to Utah.
I got some rough advice. How do you feel about this stuff? These guys who just say, you know what, I'm not going to do any kind of workout. Did he even interview with anybody?
Hey, man, to each his own. But if you do that, listen, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
All right? You do that kind of stuff, there's a really good chance it's going to blow up in your face. So I think the young man, personally, I think he got bad advice. He got 100%. Bad information from 100%. People who I don't think are necessarily qualified to navigate those waters. And I don't know if it backfired on him, but if you're just kind of taking it on the face value thing of Ace Bailey said there were certain teams he wanted to go to, but he didn't bother to work out for those teams.
I don't get it.
I mean, I don't know if the Sixers is better than Utah situationally in terms of the teams, because the Sixers are obviously a problematic bunch with the injury to Joel Embiid, and Utah is, I don't know exactly what Danny Ainge is doing, but Utah is not doing well right now. But I think if you're a young man and you want to make sure that you stay in a place where you feel comfortable, and Utah is definitely not one of those places, just maybe you find a way to make sure that if you don't go to your desired location, which is the Washington Wizards, the Brooklyn Nets, or the New Orleans Pelicans, then you got to kind of have a fallback, right? So if I don't go there, let's make sure I don't go to a place where I don't want to go. And clearly by the look on his face, and I'm not just using this one still photograph to make, my point. You can go back and look at the video if you choose to. He was not thrilled to be selected by the Utah Jazz. So again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not working out, that's your choice. It still was a stupid game to play.
Yeah, I don't, man. And if I'm the GM of one of these teams, that to me, there's just, and maybe it's because I've done hiring and all that stuff now, there's just little things you look for when you're bringing on what is essentially a new employee. Yeah. And part of that thing is whether or not you're going to be coachable or you're going to be a diva or whatever. And this is the type of stuff that smacks as somebody who could potentially be an issue, because if it's me or if it's the average person, I'm about to be a millionaire instantly. a player on one of 30 teams, and I'm about to be making all this money playing basketball. And yeah, I might have my preferences, but I'm not gonna go out there telling everybody.
Well, the thing is that you can have your preferences.
Yep.
And you can do all of that stuff, and you can
Right.
have all of this talent, but ultimately these teams, and it's going to sound crazy, they're looking for a reason to not take you.
This is facts.
Don't give them one.
This is
Okay.
facts.
Unless you are Cooper Flagg, okay? All right. Unless you are a consensus number one pick, it's the whole talent tolerance thing. Okay.
You're
If
right.
Cooper Flagg were, if he were a world-class a-hole, his talent is so good that they would look past that for the most part. I'm sort of stretching this out to an absurd point, but I think you understand the point. This is not to say that Ace Bailey is not talented, because he is.
Yep.
Although he and Rutgers, the team he played for last year, was not very good, but still you could see the measurables and the basketball skills. You could see that they're there, but there's still some questions about him to give teams a reason to say, yeah, but I just kind of see that as dumb. I just kind of see that as not, it's just not, it's not intelligent. You're not putting yourself in a position to win,
Yeah, it's just to me crazy that you would kind of blow this your first impression, and then you come in talking about, well, I want wherever I go, I want to make sure I get the chance to start and so I can be an all-star and win. I'm like, man, you keep that stuff to yourself, bro.
Yeah, well, these young Thundercats now, they don't know the idea of keeping stuff to yourself, or
I feel bad for them in many ways, though, because this is a huge opportunity for you, and first impressions do matter.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more amused by it than feel bad for him, because A, he's in the NBA, even if it is in Salt Lake City.
That's what I'm saying.
But B, you know what? You're in Salt Lake City, you're in the NBA, and you're also going to be handsomely compensated. Now, I understand that money does not change everything. Money, it truly does not give you complete and total happiness. However, I'm going to speak for myself, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with this when I say this.
Mm-hmm.
I can be somewhat miserable in Salt Lake City if I'm living my dream, hooping and making a lot of money in the process. Because you only play 41 games at your home spot. You're traveling around the country, and then sometimes have the ability to travel around the world. So I could be miserable in Salt Lake City as the 5th pick in the NBA draft. I would have no problem with that.
And then you get a couple of months off as well.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
This is a teacher schedule.
Go
ahead and deal with it, bro.
You're not going to the playoffs, so you're only going to be there through mid-April. Then bam, you gone, you out.
That's true.
But that is Ace Bailey right there, who not happy. But cheer up, young buck. It'll be all right for you.
Yeah, he'll get out there, and then he'll do what a lot of other cats have done once they've gotten to Utah, and just go, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world.
I thought you was going to say, get him a white girl.
I mean, that's kind of where I was. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Rod Brooks, I don't know what's going on with you. I feel like I've infiltrated your mind.
My bad, dog.
A lot of brothers get out there and they're like, you know what? This ain't that bad after all.
It's like, look, wide streets. It's a clean city. Look at all this snow. Look at all the snow in the mountains. Look at all this snow around me. Well, I guess I'll start to like snow.
See if I can work on my own little Klay Thompson.
Exactly. Man, did you notice all of the former players? This trend continues. All of the former players who have kids that are now going into the NBA. Ron Harper's son, Dylan Harper, who played with Ace Bailey at Rutgers. And I'm saying that because I know the vast majority of people who are watching us right now who will listen to the audio version of Quality Hang when we put it out. You didn't watch Rutgers basketball. I know you didn't. And that's okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I did not.
It's Rutgers basketball. I get that. I understand that. Listen,
bro, there's only like 6 or 7 teams in college basketball that I'll even entertain watching.
Exactly. And that's when the tournament rolls around and you get to the Elite 8. And Rutgers basketball is strictly a friends and family type organization. Okay. Because those are the only people who are going to watch Rutgers. But Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's kid got drafted into the NBA tonight.
we'll see what they do. From what I was reading, they both underperformed this year. So
yeah, but again, it was a not a very good situation at Rutgers.
Yeah,
it was like I said this to somebody. You remember that Washington team that had Markel Fultz on it and Lorenzo Romar was the coach?
Yes, sir.
It was in 2017, I believe, and they went 9-25 or what the hell ever it was. It was one of those situations. It was just a bad, Rutgers situation all around. And I think because they knew that those two kids, and Harper and Ace Bailey, were simply not going to stick around. But yeah, the thing though is that you have more and more former NBA player kids going into the league. And by the way, when we do On This Date, we get some fun on this date.
I love it.
We're going to do today. A former NBA player's kid got drafted and changed the league, but we'll get to that in just a second. Jonathan Kuminga was profiled by Anthony Slater of The Athletic. Kuminga is working out in Cleveland. Okay. Jonathan Kuminga's working out in Cleveland as his
guess he wants to work in solitude.
I guess. Yeah. All right. To each his own. But Kuminga's working out as his future with the Warriors remains in limbo. For those who don't know, Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent. And the idea that he and the Warriors could come to some fairly quick agreement on terms, I think we're getting farther and farther away from that by the day. Here's a quote that Slater got from Jonathan Kuminga, and I'll read it again for the folks who are not watching Quality Hang. Kuminga said, quote, "I feel like I'm at the point where that has to be my priority, just to be one of the guys the team relies on, aiming to be an all-star multiple times, aiming to be great. Wherever I'm going to be at, it don't matter if it's the Warriors or if it's anywhere else. It's something I want. I want to see what I could do. I know I got it, so I want to really see. I've never got that chance." All right, let's pick it apart. I understand the young man wanting shine. Okay.
Sure.
I understand Jonathan Kuminga wanting to showcase his talents. This is a young man from the Congo who has made himself into a very good basketball player. Let's not forget, with his faults, Jonathan Kuminga is still one of the top 300 plus basketball players on the planet. Yep. That's amazing that he, coming from where he came from, could make himself into one of the best 300 plus basketball players on the planet. And he is in a position, Jonathan Kuminga is, to sign a contract that will give him and his family life-changing wealth. That is unbelievable. And I completely feel where he's coming from, that he has worked so hard to get to this point to where he wants that money and he wants to show how good of a basketball player he is. Here's the problem. He's not going to be able to do that with the Golden State Warriors. Why? Because he plays with Steph Curry. And the focus, rightfully so, should be on Steph Curry. Everyone playing around Steph Curry. The focus is getting the ball to Steph. How can you do your job to make it easy for Steph to do his job? As long as Steph Curry is a member of the Golden State Warriors and Steve Kerr is the coach, and I think those two things absolutely run on parallel tracks, then that's the way the Warriors are going to be run. He's not going to be the guy on the Golden State Warriors as long as the guy on the Golden State Warriors is Steph Curry. For Jonathan Kuminga to do what this quote says, he's going to have to do it elsewhere. He doesn't necessarily want to be here. And the Warriors, considering the way he plays offensively and in the team defensive concept, don't necessarily want Jonathan Kuminga to be with the Warriors. So what does that say to me? He gone. He gone.
Dude, it's kind of, again, I'm always kind of looking for these sorts of pink flags. I have always been a Jonathan Kuminga supporter, but not at the sacrifice of what's best for this team. And I think that anybody who roots for the Warriors should feel that way as opposed to going, I just want to see this guy on the floor. And look,
let him cook, give him the ball, let him cook. Like it don't work that way.
Yeah. Nah. And unless you, I want to be diplomatic. To hear him say, I haven't been given the opportunity is a bit disingenuous to me. You've been there 4 years. You've been given lots of opportunities. I just don't think you've capitalized on those opportunities and done the things that the team wants you to do that will contribute to winning, not just padding your stats. Because if you had, you would be starting. You would be Jimmy Butler. They would not have gone out to make a trade for a guy like Jimmy Butler if you, Jonathan Kuminga, had lived up to all the potential that you have. That's not even a knock. That's just a statement of fact.
Rebounding wise and team defensive concepts. That's where it becomes a problem, particularly for Steve Kerr. And then offensively, it becomes a problem for Steph Curry when the ball sticks with him or he misses obvious situations to pass the ball, not just to Steph, but to other guys as well. When you say, and he says, I never got the chance, I didn't get the opportunity. He did get chances. He did get the opportunity, but it wasn't to play the type of basketball that he wants to play, which is and I don't even mean this in a bad way. And this is not to say that Jonathan Kuminga is overly selfish, but Jonathan Kuminga wants to play basketball that benefits Jonathan Kuminga. And it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this discussion. Right. This is someone who has made himself into one of the best 300 plus basketball players on the planet. And right now he wants to get his. He wants to get his money, which is understandable. And he wants to get his basketball off in a way that showcases him. And you know what? Fully, that's never going to happen with the Golden State Warriors. It's not.
And he might get the shot to do that someplace else. But from what I've seen, here's a guy who idolizes Kobe Bryant and wants to play like Kobe Bryant. But you're not Kobe Bryant, because if you were Kobe Bryant, you would be a bigger, better contributor to the team. This is just facts. You could be an all-star in your role. It's not like you can't get multiple all-stars from one team. The Warriors and many other teams have proven they can have all-stars. So if that's your goal, you could have done that there. And if the defense was better and if the rebounding was better, I would hazard a guess that the team would actually allow you to make more mistakes on the offensive side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Without a doubt. They will live with those mistakes if you are giving them what they want, because if they need defensively. Sure. Because
if you are a great offensive player, a dominant offensive player, well then we'll overlook that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you're not any of that. And you have to at some point be a person who can self-reflect enough to go, okay, here's where I am. I got to do this. Now, he's young, obviously. He's got a couple more years till he's at his prime and his peak. But I think one day he'll get to the point where he goes, okay, this is my lane. I'm going to just collect this $30 million a year and keep it pushing.
And listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. This is not to demonize Jonathan Kuminga by any stretch of the imagination. I think there are a certain number of Warrior fans or supposed Warrior fans who do that. I think that's silly and completely unjust, for lack of a better way of putting it. I just feel like, to me, it's very obvious, and it's been very obvious for a long, long time, that the way Jonathan Kuminga wants to play and the way the Warriors, specifically Steve Kerr and Steph Curry, the two dudes who are running the thing,
they matter.
Okay. The way that he wants to play and the way that they want him to play they go in completely different directions.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I don't, the only thing that's going to fix that is either a bunch of money or overpaying him or a capitulation in terms of how they are going to handle him as a player. And I don't see either one of those things coming. I don't. Amen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just don't see either one of those things coming. In honor of Cooper Flagg, Marcus.
Yes, sir.
Being white kid, first white player taken number one overall in the draft since Kent Benson in 77, 78, something like that. So you know what? I mean, hey, man, even though Juneteenth was a few days ago, it's a big day for the white hoopers, dog. Big day, man. Huge day for the white hoopers. Cooper Flag taking number one. An American white hooper taking number one. Serious business, though. We might never see that again, by the way. You might see a white European player taking number one again. You might never see a white. If it took Kent Benson in 1978 to Cooper Flag in 2025 for it to happen, we might never see a white player taking number one overall. But in honor of Cooper Flag taking number one, someone put out a list and a photo of the top 5 coldest white boys of all time.
Let's go.
In NBA history. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
Bam! There it is. Look at that,
man. Hey, right away.
You want to talk about premium milk right there? It's premium milk. We'll go from well, you know what? We'll go from left to right because I think we both have the same issue with this. First off, all these cats is cold. Okay, let's keep it a buck here. All these cats is cold.
Monsters.
Larry Joe Bird,
greatest of all time.
Dirk Nowitzki,
maybe second greatest of all time,
who's always got an invite to the cookout.
Yes, sir.
Keep Dirk Nowitzki's marital situation.
Clearly, he gets a lot of meals from the cookout.
Hey, man. Hey, let me tell you something, Dirk. I don't have a cap on, but I'm tipping it. I see you play,
sir.
Nikola Jokic, John Stockton, and the logo, Jerry West.
Can't knock any of them.
Cold ass white boys.
Can't knock them.
Here's the problem, and I think we're both aligned on this.
Yeah.
If you're doing this in a traditional 1 through 5 way, where you're talking point, shooting, small, power, center, this works because Stockton at point, okay, West at shooting, all right, Larry at small, Dirk at power, Jokic at center. If you're just going 1 through 5, this is the coldest white boy in NBA history.
Yes.
But if you're not talking 1 through 5, and you're just saying who the coldest of all time, Rick Barry should be in there,
bro.
Over John Stockton. Over John Stockton.
What are we doing?
If we're just talking 5 cold white boys, Rick's got to be in there over John Stockton. If we're talking traditional positions, you got to put John Stockton in there.
I don't even. Couldn't you move Dr. Buss over to point and put Rick in there?
You mean Jerry West?
Jerry West. I'm sorry, Jerry West.
Yeah, you could, but
because he played point.
But if we're talking again, if we're just saying traditional positions, John Stockton was an extraordinarily good point guard. They were better.
Amazing.
Magic's better. Magic's better. All right. Magic's the best. Steph, obviously. Isaiah. A couple more I could probably think of.
Yes.
If I had the mental capability. Thank you. Jason Kidd. Thank you. Steve Nash. We throw Steve
Nash.
But
oh my God, Nash.
John Stockton. Put aside him peddling COVID conspiracy theories. Okay. All right. Put aside him giving the ball to Karl Malone, another problematic individual. John Stockton was cold, dog. If we're just doing position, but if we eliminate that, hey man, I saw somebody say Rick is going to be saltier than usual.
Oh, he will. And you know what? I don't even blame him
because he saw this list, and he probably did like when they were booing Joe Lacob after the Monte Ellis trade. Like, this is crazy. Come on, people.
He's probably trying to find out who created this meme right now.
Who put this together?
Yeah, cussing them out too.
Coldest white boys of all time, right there.
Man, I love me some Rick Barry, and I was a kid when he was here, and he was very polarizing. The fans loved him, ownership hated him, and he was always kind of ambivalent. Like, I want to be here, but I can get the hell out and go play overseas or something like that. Rick was an interesting guy. It'd been fun to have you here. He was an interesting dude. I think you worked with him too, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And your choice of the word interesting is interesting. First and foremost, Rick Barry is a basketball genius. And to sit in the same room with him, for the most part, he did the show the overwhelming majority of the time from his house in Colorado. But even then, whether we were in the same room, which was rare, or he was a disembodied voice.
Yeah.
I got a chance to learn about basketball from a literal basketball genius.
Amen.
All right. And I'm never going to think about that time with Rick Barry with nothing but reverence from a standpoint of I went to basketball, graduate school.
Yes,
right?
sir.
But what I learned though about great professional athletes is that they are very quirky people. They're just different than us. Not better.
They
Okay?
gotta be. They gotta
But
be.
different. They are wired
Yes.
totally different than your average non-great at a chosen sport
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
What that said to me was, in order for you, and this probably isn't true across the board, but I think there's a ton of truth to it. In order to be one of those greats, you either have to be born different or you mold yourself into being different.
Amen.
And
Yep.
he was just a different cat. He really was. Still, I mean,
Yeah,
he's not dead. He still is. He's a very different dude.
Yeah. You talk to any of these guys, spend any amount of time with them, and just listen to the way they speak about their sport,
Mhm.
about the need to win. It is they're borderline insane.
Well, I was saying this to someone a couple of days ago. They're sociopaths.
Yeah,
sociopath.
man.
All right.
Obsessive dudes.
They are singularly focused on the goal and singularly focused on themselves. And it's to say that they can't be good people, or that because they are sociopaths in that regard that they're bad people. That's not it. It's just it's a mindset to where the only thing that matters is reaching this goal of being the best or winning a title or winning, even it transfers into business. Like it's just they're sociopaths. Like Michael Jordan, sociopath. Okay.
I mean, they all talk about what they lose when they
lose.
Play
Right.
the sport. They all talk about the
Exactly.
sacrifice they made. Yeah.
Kobe Bryant. So Steph Curry. Steph Curry is one of the nicest, most down to earth. He's the nicest, most down to earth superstar athlete I've ever met, and I've met or interacted with a lot of them. Steph's a good dude. That's not just hype. I don't get not saying this. Steph's a good dude. However, Steph Curry is a walking, talking, living, breathing sociopath. And I'll give you an example, a recent example. Remember when Clay came back last year?
Yeah, buddy.
Everybody with open arms. Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
Clay's coming back. He had employees lining the halls at Chase Center. Everybody wearing captain's caps. They had the video montage, standing ovation. Everybody with arms wide open welcomed Clay back into their bosom, including Steph. Then the ball tipped off. What did Steph do? He buried him. He buried him in front of 18,000 people, and God knows how many others were watching on television. And when he threw that final shovel of dirt onto Clay's, welcome home party, he basically said, "Oh, so you want to leave me? You wanted to leave this? No, I run this." And then he ran into the tunnel. He did that to his brother, Klay Thompson.
Yes, sir.
That's what a sociopath does. And
Yes,
I mean
sir.
I mean that with reverence. I really, really do. They're just different. They're just different.
I think that it's one of the most underrated aspects of not just great players, but great winning players. Because the thing that drives these guys to greatness is the end result is the winning. It's not the other stuff. It's the winning. When you talk to Magic Johnson, he's smiling, but he was obsessed with winning. He worked on his game every single year and got something else out of it. And it wasn't because he just wanted to be the best player. He wanted to beat the shit out of the Celtics and Larry Bird. Winning was always what sets apart the great players from the not as great players.
And it's you don't turn that mentality on and off. You don't eventually figure that out in your third year in the NBA. You have that mentality when you're in high school. And if you're bigger and stronger and you have that mentality, you just run through high school. Then you get to college and you start to see some guys who are kind of like you in that sociopathic range, and they have the talent. And then all of a sudden you become even more of the dominant paradigm, so to speak, and you dominate that one. And then you go to the next one. Like Cooper Flagg said that this is a quote from his mother. And I'm like, you know what? This is a baller quote. This is a G quote, where his mother said, if you're the best player in your gym, you need to find a better gym.
Yeah. I love it.
Cooper Flagg's mom is a sociopath.
I love it.
Probably raised a sociopath, which is why she's the first white kid to get drafted number 1 since the late 70s.
That's a sweet quote. I love it. Oh my gosh.
It's a great quote because it's true. If you're
100%
really about that life, and if
100%.
you really want to be dominant, you got to find some challenges, and then you have to beat those challenges. And sometimes you have to make up those challenges, which is what Michael and Kobe, and I'm sure some others did as well. Let's stick with kind of the white boy theme on the show today. Eastern Michigan University started their fall football camp as we are getting closer to the college football season. They started their fall football camp this week, and I guess by tradition, the incoming freshmen to the Eastern Michigan University football team receive a rousing welcome from the upperclassmen. I'm going to play a video of one of the incoming freshmen at Eastern Michigan University being welcomed by his new teammates. And his name is interesting, as you will see on this video and hear as well. So here we go. Yeah, there he is right there.
I know this dude. I've seen that name.
That is Eastern Michigan University incoming freshman football player, Noah Kaniga.
Yeah, that's right.
The K, mercifully, is not silent. The K in Noah Kaniga is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, boy.
A lot.
I'm sorry. I don't care what my great grandpappy says, but we got to get rid of that name. We got to get rid of it. We got to get rid of it.
It clearly has not held him back in life, Marcus.
No, it doesn't.
Matter of fact, I see a lot of Kanigas in that video who seem to be okay with their new football teammates. Noah Kaniga, listen to this. Look, I mean it.
Here's what disturbs me: the absolute glee with which he screams that name.
I mean, he's finally getting a chance to say it in public, and nobody's going to yell at him.
Yeah, boy.
Like it's the realization of lifetime dream, probably.
Oh, man.
So
this dude.
There you go.
I got to change it. It's too well. Maybe I wouldn't change it, but everybody gonna have to be very careful when they start pronouncing that thing. Check with the producers before we go on air.
Hey, let me tell you something. If Noah Kaniga gets hurt and he has a bulging disc in his back, I'm not reading that report. Okay.
Nope.
I'm just saying. Football player from Eastern Michigan University has a back injury. Film at 11. I'm not, you're not going to get me to Tom Brennan in my career, right? I'm not doing it.
Played. Well played.
Phil Steele, who puts together a college football Bible. And if you love college football, you have to have it. It is a preview of all of the Division I teams, their rosters, depth charts, scouting reports, all of that stuff. Phil Steele, who I had the pleasure to work with for a couple of years on KNBR, he would do the show every Friday. Just a great guy, and he loves college football, and he knows it ins and out. The relationships he has with college football coaches and administrators, like I said, if you love college football, the Phil Steele preseason Bible is a must. But Phil Steele, he had a little trouble with the name, as you can see here. Eastern Michigan linebacker. What do we see here highlighted? He forgot the K.
Oh boy!
I told you that K.
That's what I'm saying.
They be doing some heavy lifting, dog.
check with the producers before you start pronouncing names.
Hey, that Chiron, when you're typing it in, like if he makes a big play, if you miss that K, it's a rapidy rap, dog. It's over.
Yeah,
Career is
whoever's putting that out there needs to spell that phonetically so nobody screws it up.
So there you go. And did I enjoy typing in this banner, Mike nigga? Absolutely, I did, because I'm a child. We'll keep that up there for a while. I'm sorry. I'll take it down.
I love it. You never get a complaint from me from a guy. Over the top, the more over the top, the better for me.
The new Jordans came out today. The 40th edition.
Now, Rod, I've never owned a pair of Jordans.
What?
Never owned a pair of Jordans.
I got too many. Look at us.
Yeah, this is
you're on one end of the spectrum. I'm on the other end. I got way too many for a full-grown adult. You have none. You're probably the wiser of the two of us.
And I guess that gets my Kaniga card revoked. So I've never owned a pair, and I don't know why.
Why is it so hot in here now? No. What that makes you is smart. Makes you not a slave to fashion, and it makes you fiscally responsible, because Jordans are not cheap. Like I said, the 40th edition or iteration of the Jordans came out today, and let's take a look at them bad boys.
Are those retro?
No, these are the new ones. What did Jumpman at? Okay, on the tongue.
Yeah.
That it?
That looks very retro to me.
It looks very mid. That's what it looks like. By the way, these bad boys are $200 a pop.
Woo!
Yeah,
well,
so
that's nice right there, though.
Is it?
I like that.
What's that? Pepto-Bismol color?
Remember the ones with the spats on them? That's what it reminds me of.
Those are the most famous ones.
That's what those remind me of.
Those are they 11s or 14s? I forget. But they call them the Concords with the patent leather around.
Yeah, that's what that reminds me of.
Around the outside. I don't know, man. They don't do it for me. They don't. They don't. You know what they look like? They look like Anthony Edwards' shoe. They look like his Adidas signature shoe.
Yeah.
Well, another weird thing is I actually have owned maybe a few pair of Nikes in my life, probably like 4 or 5 pair ever. But I've always worn Adidas. Like I still have.
You an Adidas guy, huh?
Yeah, I think I've always just picked up Adidas. Once in the blue moon, I've had Pumas, but Adidas has kind of been my brand. So I'm just going with it.
I hear you.
I had those Kobe. I had the Reeboks. I had Reeboks for a little while.
Oh, you just jump all over the place. See that's like
I'm not really a super slave to them, but I do like my Adidas.
If you're a sneakerhead, you are very brand loyal.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I owned a couple of pairs of Reeboks when they hit, because you remember when they hit, they were huge.
Yeah.
So owned a couple of pairs then. I don't think I've ever owned a pair of Adidas. Seriously.
Really?
I don't think I've ever bought a pair of Adidas.
Damn.
I don't think I've never bought a pair. I've never put a pair on my feet.
Oh. I literally just bought a pair like 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
I don't think I've ever owned a pair of Pumas. It has been overwhelmingly either Nikes or Jordans, which in essence the same thing.
Same.
Or that Reebok phase I went through in the 80s. And I think everybody, and I might have owned I had K-Swiss. Remember K-Swiss?
I was just about to say my brands have always been Adidas and K-Swiss. I still have K-Swiss. Yeah.
K-Swiss, but they'll still hold you down. I don't know where you could find. Well, I guess you can get them online, but I don't know where you find them retail wise. But I got to say, these new Jordans, and again, we are 40 years in to Jordans.
Are they too plain?
They're they just don't. Generic? They're not special. Yes, very generic. They don't seem special. I need a little bit more Jumpman
Little
of the
pizzazz.
logo. I need it somewhere on the shoe, and it just looks it just looks mid. It just there doesn't seem to be anything special about it. It doesn't jump out at me visually. So from like a fashion standpoint, which is what this is really all about. Like I
Sure.
know Paulo Banchero of the Magic, he's going to wear them, and I'm sure other guys will as well.
100%.
But just from a fashion standpoint, just the way they look, they definitely don't grab my attention. And they
That's
look,
it.
like I said, they look like Anthony Edwards's signature Adidas shoe. So
There is a new pair every year. Is that right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I
that's,
feel like
that's
I
where-
don't remember the last couple of years of.
Yeah, it's been a while since a pair of Jordans got my attention, and the only ones I buy now are of the retro variety. But that's just me, reaching back to my childhood of not being able to afford any of them. That's all that it is with me.
Do the retros cost more?
Yeah, and they're harder to get because
that makes sense.
because of sneaker resellers
Yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But this pair, which again, I'm sure they will sell millions of pairs around the world. For this being the 40th iteration of Jordans,
Yeah.
I just kind of find these bad boys to be kind of, doesn't do anything for me.
I get
Doesn't
it.
do anything for me. So I don't know.
I kind of like them.
I guess I won't be spending $200 on them.
You got so you don't have all of them. You don't have a pair of all of them.
No. The ones I like the most are the 4s. And if you're a sneakerhead, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to describe them if you don't know. But those are one of the earlier ones. The 4s, obviously, they came out. If there's been 40 years of them, the 4s are one of the first few that they came out with. So the 4s are the ones I bang with the heaviest. I'll get those in various colors and styles. But I did, I would buy the new ones every year. I have somewhere in the house some old Jordans from like the early 90s, the mid 90s. And I think I bought my last pair probably in maybe 2002 is probably the last time I ran out to the store when the new Jordans came out and stood in line, which is an antiquated, thought now because nobody goes to Foot Locker anymore and stands outside of Foot Locker and wait for them to lift a metal gate so you can rush in and get your size. Now everything is done online, which is why these shoes are so goddamn hard to get now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Dudes buy them just to resell them.
Oh, that's the resale market has ruined sneaker culture, and definitely made it harder to get what you want because you have people who will buy them and resell them, or buy them and not wear them. Which
dudes put them up on a shelf. They put them in the glass cases so they can be shown as artifacts. It's crazy.
Yeah, people display them as if they were pieces of fine art. And I do think sneaker design, certain sneaker design, it there's an art to it. And
I would agree.
They are artful.
I would agree.
Me personally, I'd have a hard time displaying them behind me as art. Like I think these trail maps from various mountains I've been to me, that's art. Those are hand-drawn trail maps.
Yeah.
I can imagine putting up my kicks behind me going, do you like my artwork? Like, no, they're just shoes. But that's just me,
I find the sneaker culture fascinating. I've always found it fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a culture,
and it's relatively new. That's what I find so fascinating about it.
Yeah. And it is definitely for people like me, just trying to recapture a childhood that you couldn't afford to begin with. Should I go to therapy or should I buy shoes? I think
both.
I buy shoes.
Both.
Let's see here. On this date, very excited about on this date because we got a lot of good stuff, and I'm going to try to do it in chronological order here. On this date, June 25th, my favorite song from one of my favorite bands was released in the United Kingdom on this day in 1971. The Who's magnum opus "Won't Get Fooled Again" released on this date in
Okay.
1971. It was big then, and it holds up now. And if you know the subject
Yeah.
matter, the title pretty
Yeah.
much says everything you
Yeah.
need to know.
Yeah.
All these many years later, "Won't Get Fooled Again" by The Who, released on this date in 1971.
Are you a big Who fan, or you just like
Absolutely.
that particular album?
Love them. Absolutely love them.
Right.
Absolutely love them. Their drummer, Keith Moon, is the
Keith
reason
Moon.
I play drums. I heard.
Oh,
I
is
heard
that
him,
right?
I heard him play drums for the first time. Obviously not live. He's long gone. Before I even knew who he was or heard their music. But I heard "I Can See for Miles" when I was school shopping in 7th grade. I was going, back to school shopping with my mother, and she took me into a Gap in Meyerland Mall when I was a kid, and not Behind Blue Eyes, but what's the song I just mentioned? I'm completely having a brain cramp. "I Can See for Miles" was playing in the background.
Yeah.
And those drums it stopped me in my tracks. I'd never heard anything about it.
No.
What is this? Who is this? I never heard anything about it. Fast forward, I find out who it is, and then I just immerse myself in all things Who. And I just just a great band. 3 great musicians and a great singer in Roger Daltrey. I think their music is timeless, fun, heavy. The lyrics are great. It's unbelievable. So that album, that Won't Get Fooled Again, is contained. Who's Next is easily one of the greatest albums of all time. It's not even a question.
It's interesting, the Who, and I always think, when I think about the Who, I think about sort of their place in the pantheon of legendary bands, and it's just interesting to me that they obviously have such a gigantic following, which tells you how big the following of the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin happens to be, because you get to the Who and they're like on that list of all-time great bands. Most people have them listed in the like top 10. Right. It's just so interesting that group is so good, so beloved, but you have these other guys ahead of them that you're like, oh shit, that's right, the Who is banging around the same time.
But it's like we talked about when Sly Stone passed away and Brian Wilson passed away so closely, that you think about that time in music where you had Sly Stone and Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys and Jimi Hendrix, all working at the same time, dropping classics, classics. And then you had the Stones and the Who and Led Zeppelin at the same time. Who's Next came out in 1971. Led Zeppelin was 3 albums in by 1971. The Beatles had finished in 1970, and then Led Zeppelin and the Who are doing their thing, and then Black Sabbath shows up.
And we didn't even think about Black Sabbath when you talk about these. Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
It's just a trip.
Sabbath shows up around that time. It's wild that all that happened at that time.
That period, and I always call it between like 68 and 78, 68 and 80, is such an explosion of musical creativity. It literally, to me, that's the greatest decade in the history of recorded music.
Just totally unequaled. And
just the amount of creativity, no matter what the genre was, there was creativity was what ruled the day. Not flash, not bullshit. It had to have some substance, and it was amazing.
You had James Brown doing his thing and making that transition into funk. Right? Which took his career in a whole different place, and that spawned, eventually hip hop. Then you had Motown, still doing its thing, but it was making its change, trying to figure out where it was in the world.
That's when Stevie took over and became the lead goat of Motown. He and Marvin Gaye. I mean,
and then all of a sudden, Michael Jackson and Jackson 5 are doing their thing. And Michael Jackson, who we'll get to in a second, it's the beginning of him, becoming a household name and the greatest entertainer of all time. So for all of that stuff to happen around that time, it just is always been mind-blowing to me.
Everybody ate.
Everybody
ate. And
you know what? Everybody created.
I have a theory about this too.
Yes, lay it on.
My theory is that the creativity was a must in order for you to be heard.
Yes.
Because you could not, there was no place for you to go musically where your music could be heard that was segregated.
Yep.
Until FM radio came along and put soul here, rock there, oldies here. Back then, if you want to hear what was popular, it was all on one station.
Yep. And on top of that, the competition between bands. You just talked about freely that
Aerosmith. What are we doing?
Somewhere Paulie Mack is like, yeah, you better mention Aerosmith. all of these bands and all of these people I mentioned were uber competitive. Obviously, the Stones and the Beatles were competitive. Jimi Hendrix and Pete Townsend, two great yet different guitar players, extraordinarily competitive with each other. There was competition between the Who and the Rolling Stones, competition between Who and Zeppelin. Obviously, Motown was a very competitive entity, just with all of the artists, inside of Motown.
Yes.
Just that competition. And to
and
me,
don't
that
forget
iron sharpening iron is why we got all of that great music from that time.
Don't forget all those bands that were popping out of Ohio at about that time. The Gap Band and the Bar-Kays and Earth, Wind and Fire, the Ohio Players. Like all these bands would come. It was such a crazy Queen. How can we forget Queen? Like this is insane.
Yeah. And by the way, the Ramones were getting ready to happen. Now that was
Punk was coming up,
early 70s, the mid 70s, but that stuff was starting to happen. It's just an unbelievable time in music. And
I've always said that us Gen Xers have the best taste in music because we have eclectic tastes.
Yes,
in music.
Absolutely.
The exposure to everything is insane that the younger people don't have now.
Well, you know what? I told you, you're going to like today's On This Date because it's a good one. So we're going to keep going. So On This Date, The Who released in the UK, Won't Get Fooled Again off of the great album Who's Next. On this date in 1975, Cooley High was released.
You make me want to cry.
Oh man, come on, dog. Cooley High is it's a beautiful,
it's the blueprint, baby.
It's the blueprint, exactly.
It's the blueprint.
When it comes to a coming of age story that is focused singularly on Black people, it's Cooley High, and then everything else is spawned.
Yeah, man.
From Cooley High. Just a great movie. And we're all thinking the same thing, aren't we? We're all thinking about the end.
Yeah.
We're all thinking about when Cochise got knocked out, hit his head on the metal pole and died. And then Preacher, Glenn Thurman's character, him talking to Cochise's grave before he goes off to become a great writer. The ending of that movie sits with every Black person in the United States of America. And worldwide too. It was tough. I'm just thinking about it right now. It gets me like, oh my God.
Get choked up. There was another movie like that didn't get the same love, but moved me the same way. It was a movie called Cornbread, Earl and Me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, boo, cornbread.
You want to make a Black man cry? Put on Cooley High or Cornbread, Earl and Me.
Man, look. Man.
Even the toughest unk, even the toughest OG, can't resist the end of Cooley High, bringing him to tears.
Lord have mercy.
Trust me on that one. Cooley High released on this date in 1975. I said we're going to do this in chronological order. I think I'm going to pull it off here. On this date in 1984, Purple Rain was released.
Sir.
Prince's
sir.
magnum opus. If we're talking about great albums, we're talking about great songs, we're talking about great artists. None greater in all of those categories than one Prince Rogers Nelson, and he released The Great Purple Rain. And don't forget, it's a soundtrack album, okay, because of the movie. But Purple Rain released on this date in 1984.
I love this album, even though it's not most people who peak. The folks who follow those artists know that the peak album is typically not their best album in the eyes of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Sign of the Times is probably Prince's best album, but that was a trippy thing because I think I was 15 years old then, and Prince had the number one album, the number one single, number one movie all at the same time, and I don't think that's ever been done again. Crazy, dude.
Well, I mean, it'll never be done again because the culture doesn't work that way. We don't have a monoculture anymore, and we're probably going to never see anyone like Prince before. Who, again, we talked about this when Sly Stone died. You don't get Prince if it wasn't for Sly Stone.
Nope.
And maybe we will get a Prince because of Prince's exposure. Maybe somebody did study Prince, and 20 years down the road, we will see someone come along and be Prince-like. But there's only one Prince Rogers Nelson. There's only one Purple Rain, and it was released on this date in 1984. One day, we should do a show about all of the music that came out in 1984.
Oh, bro.
Because
I think we had this conversation before. I think there were only like 5 number one albums that year, which is insane.
Yeah. Like, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Yep.
Probably 1984 by Van Halen.
Thriller.
And for folks who don't know,
Rain.
Thriller came out in 1983, but because it was so goddamn big, its influence stretched over into 1984.
Yep.
I'm sure Madonna had a number one album.
Footloose was the number one album that year.
Yeah. There was just so much good music that came out in Huey Lewis and the News. They were doing their thing.
That was one.
The Cars were doing their thing.
I forgot about the Cars, man.
I think, and it didn't rise to number one just because hip hop wasn't that big, but I think King of Rock by Run DMC came out in 1984, and King of Rock was huge.
Man, King of Rock. So that was like a thunderclap throughout the music industry.
Oh yeah. That set up the eventual sort of rap rock normalization that we got when Walk This Way came out and Raising Hell in 1886. But King of Rock, that song King of Rock, that album King of Rock, ooh, baby, it hit. But as great as King of Rock was, there's only one Prince, there's only one Purple Rain, and it came out on this day in 1984.
Yes, sir.
On this date in 2009, 2 big things happened. One of them, a big change. The other one was a complete and total shock on this date. Michael Jackson died in 2009.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's one of those. That's almost like, at least for me, that's like a president being assassinated.
Yeah,
it moved me that much. I was so hurt.
Yeah,
when Michael Jackson died. Michael Jackson and Prince were literally my 2 favorite artists overall growing up. And Sly, I can't ever leave Sly out. But I love those 2 dudes, and that hurt me, boy. That hurt me.
I remember walking through San Francisco on my way to an NBA draft party. Keep that in mind as we finish up 2 days on this date. I was walking to an NBA draft party, and it was one of those unusually warm days in the city. It wasn't a typical June gloom type day. It was one of those days where you're just like, if it were like this all the time in San Francisco, there would be a million more people in the city of San Francisco alone. Right. It was the type of day where everybody had their doors open and everybody had their windows rolled down on their cars. And as I walked through the city, every car, every window that was open, you heard Michael Jackson's music.
Of course.
I in no way, shape, or form am I exaggerating this. No, I walked through the city and all you heard was Michael Jackson's music. I've never experienced anything like that before, where everyone was united in celebrating their relationship with Michael Jackson's music, and it's something that I will never forget, because it's probably not going to happen again.
Well, back then I was writing for a local newspaper. It was called the Oakland Post, and I wrote an op-ed about Michael Jackson, and I was making the point that you won't ever get a Michael Jackson again because he is our last multi-generational superstar.
Right.
We love Mike. Our mamas love Mike. And our grandparents love Mike. And our kids like Mike.
Yeah.
It's not going to, I mean, Elvis was like that. The Beatles were like that. Michael Jackson is probably the last one that's ever going to happen with.
No, I completely agree.
Mhm.
Before we move on, you know who else passed away on this date back in 2009?
Who?
Farrah Fawcett.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Farrah Fawcett passed away.
That's right.
Then Michael Jackson's news came out, and
That's right.
everybody forgot that Farrah Fawcett existed.
So sad.
I know, right?
It's so sad.
It's just like, you want to talk
Delete.
about it? Yeah, it's like an eclipse, just completely and totally just blocked out
Golly.
Farrah Fawcett's life, career, and her death. It was all Michael Jackson. But I mean, listen. Nobody was playing the theme to Charlie's Angels.
I mean, yeah.
There wasn't a Charlie's Angels marathon on every television station. But when Michael Jackson died at the age of 50, I forgot how young he was. But Michael Jackson died. It was just everybody started playing Michael Jackson's music. It was an amazing thing. So, as I mentioned, I was walking through the city on this date in 2009, going to an NBA draft party, hearing everyone playing Michael Jackson music.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to an NBA draft party to see, obviously, what was going to go down and what the Golden State Warriors were doing.
Yeah.
And on this date in 2009, the most important moment in the history of the Golden State Warriors happened. Golden State Warriors drafted one Wardell Stephen Curry on this date in 2009.
He turned out to have a pretty decent career.
Yeah, all right. He okay. You know what? I guarantee you put that suit on him right now, he fills it out a little bit more.
A lot more. By the way, that's how you handle getting drafted by a team you didn't want to go to.
Exactly, Ace Bailey. That's what you're supposed to do. Smile, even though you didn't want to go there.
Steph did not want to come here. He wasn't trying to be here. His daddy was trying to get him out of here.
Daddy sure didn't want him here.
Yeah. And it worked out just fine.
It worked out just fine. Yeah, man. 2009. Can you believe it's been that long?
Wow,
can you believe he's still playing? And can you believe that even though he was, pretty much fresh off of that great tournament run that he made with Davidson and, got everybody's attention because no one knew who Steph was. Prior to that, that we go from that to this day to a guy who is easily thought of as one of the greatest NBA players to ever breathe God's great air.
Yes, sir.
Like that's what happened.
Yeah.
And completely and totally changed the fortunes of a franchise that was a joke.
It was a moribund franchise. No one was paying attention.
The Golden State Warriors were a joke.
Yeah.
Right?
People were like, where's Golden State?
Exactly. Or when you did find out about Golden State, it was because a player choked a coach. Or because the coach, traded, a generational player, talking about Chris Webber and now I'm blanking on his name.
Don Nelson.
Don Nelson, thank you very much. It's like there was never any good news about the Golden State Warriors.
Yep.
Ever. Okay. Yeah, you got some good we believe stuff. That's great. But for the most part, when it came to the Warriors, it was all bad news. And now it's a completely different story. Why?
Literally the most valuable NBA franchise in the league.
Because of this guy.
Insane.
Drafted on this date in 2009.
Insane. There's not a chance in hell anybody back in 2009 would go, you know what? It's going to be the most valuable franchise in the NBA in just a few years. You watch.
What? No.
Nobody would let you make that investment. Like, no, you're not.
No, there were people, and I understand their displeasure at the time. But remember how upset people were when they traded Monte Ellis?
I do.
Remember when they made that decision to go, and Monte, to his credit, said it, that they couldn't play together, he and Steph, because they were two small guards. When he said we can't play together, it wasn't because he didn't like Steph. It wasn't because he didn't think that Steph was a good teammate or they couldn't coexist offensively. Monte Ellis knew defensively they were both going to get worked because they were both small guards. And the Warriors, they had a decision to make. And obviously they made the right decision. But at the time, it was extremely controversial, and there were people who were mad upset about it.
Yes. I was the only person who was going, this is what we need. This is a great trade, because I really like Andrew Bogut.
Mhm.
Like, oh, this is what we've been bitching about, having an actual center for 12 years before
he was thought to be injury prone. And so it was a two-pronged thing. You were trading a fan favorite, a guy that downtrodden Warrior fans had an affection for, and you were trading for a guy that people didn't know. And if they did know Andrew Bogut, it's because he snapped his ankle one time. You know what I mean? So you gave him
dislocated. Didn't he dislocate his arm, his elbow, or something like that?
Yeah. I forgot about that other injury. Exactly. But seems like things turned out okay.
Yeah, I think everybody got what they needed to get out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, side note, I just saw that the Golden State Valkyries are the most valuable women's sports franchise in history.
Already
Worth $500 million.
Damn, already. And they haven't even gotten, obviously, the earnings reports for this season, but they are already the most valuable franchise in the WNBA and the most valuable franchise in the history of female sports. Well, I tell you what, they have already sold a metric ton of merch, so maybe that's maybe that's where it's coming from,
bro. I'm not lying. The merch is kind of fly.
The merch is very fly. That black and lavender, it is without a doubt fly.
The logo, it's all. I'm liking it.
Oh yeah, it's all good. We always end the show with the best thing I heard today, and the best thing I heard today was the great Living Colour doing the NPR Tiny Desk Concert Series. We'll give you a little taste of Living Colour on doing a Tiny Desk concert. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on, dog. Oh man, so good. I'd play more, but we don't want to run afoul of the folks at YouTube. But yeah, Living Colour doing NPR's Tiny Desk, and they never miss those NPR folks. E40 did a Tiny Desk a few weeks ago, or they aired it a few weeks ago in celebration of June being Black Music Month. Scarface's Tiny Desk is my favorite Tiny Desk concert. If you haven't checked it out, I love sending you guys down rabbit holes. Check out the Tiny Desk series by NPR. You will no doubt find at least one of your favorite artists, and those 20-30 minutes, because they're normally that short, those 20-30 minutes will rank up there with one of the best performances you've seen from your favorite artists. And this 25-30 minute jam by Living Colour today, one of my favorite bands, as you can tell. Listen to Living Colour. Man, it was so good. And obviously Corey Glover sounds great. Vernon Reed is a master at guitar, just an absolute virtuoso. Doug Wimbish is a great bassist, and Will Calhoun, great drummer, great songwriter as well. They were just so good, and clearly one of my favorite bands. Living Colour dropping a Tiny Desk today. That's the best thing I heard today.
I'm going to see if I can actually do this, Rod. Can you see my screen?
I cannot. Just see you.
Oh, here it is. That's why. Here we go. Oh. I just want you to listen to. Let's see if I can get this to work. To listen to this, right? And see, can I play this bad boy?
Come on, technology, work for us. Do it. Okay. Nice.
Now just wait till this violinist gets playing. This is crazy.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
I mean, dude, what are we talking about?
I just love Sly Stone is like, you know what we need for this song? We need a funky ass violinist. Okay. I don't want some virtuoso. I don't want some stuck up violin player. I want a violin player that's got some funk. Summon me one right now, and then all of a sudden, Bob from accounting shows up with violin. It's like, oh my god, he's the funkiest violin player I've ever seen. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I don't know what effect he had on there, but whatever it is, like this, he's killing the game.
It's not like he had a wah-wah pedal he was working with while playing the violin. Hey man, if Living Color had not dropped that NPR Tiny Desk concert, that easily would have been the best thing I heard today. We just once again want to remind you, as we do at the end of every show, just as we do at the beginning, we thank our presenting sponsor, Hop Monk Taverns, and we tell you, the fine watchers and listeners of Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends, if you happen to be near Sonoma, Sebastopol, or Novato, there are Hop Monk Taverns located there, and they are all great with great food from a diverse menu, great craft beer selection, and also great live entertainment at all three venues, whether it's folks coming in from around the country, touring acts, or whether you have local acts. It is always the place to go. Looks like they're about to have themselves a testosterone presentation at the Giants game. Did Casey Schmidt just get hit? Looks like he did. Oh, yeah, he definitely got hit. Giants players have been getting hit as of late. So either they're going to have to start hitting people, because Elliot Ramos got hit by Schmidt got hit on the wrist, and he's been one of their best hitters. They cannot afford to lose him, but he seems to be okay. But Elliot Ramos got hit by a Marlins pitcher last night, and Casey Schmidt just got hit. So my guess is that somebody from the Marlins is going to get a baseball thrown at them tomorrow as this Giants Marlins series. Yeah, right. Marcus is like, yeah, I'll finally watch a baseball game. Nice. But this series ends tomorrow. This will be the last time the Marlins and the Giants see each other this season. I'm guessing the Marlins ain't making the playoffs, and the Giants have already been to Miami. So my guess is, because they're in the bottom of the ninth, that a Marlins player better have his head on the swivel, because the Giants pitcher will throw a baseball at them. Anyway, I digress. Hop Monk Taverns, we thank them for their support, and we tell you to go check them out in Sonoma, Sebastopol, or in Novato. You will not be disappointed. All right, Marcus. Per usual, it was the Stone Groove, my man.
Always, baby, always. Let's do it again.
All right, everybody. We thank you for watching, and the folks in the comments, we thank you for being a part of our crew. We love that you have crafted a community around this show, calling yourselves the Quality Hangers. Serious business. That's what means the most to us. We enjoy doing this. We enjoy talking to each other and having interactions with you, but we love the fact that you guys have put together a community. That makes us feel all warm and fuzzy on the insides. We will see you on Friday at 8 o'clock per usual. In the meantime, as we like to tell you, be good and be good at it. We'll see you.